Pesach is right around the corner, and we welcome it with joy, but also with a heavy heart. A heavy heart since the barbaric attack on Israel on October 7th, and a particularly heavy heart this Pesach, in which we will be marking 200 days that Israelis are being held hostage by Hamas. Amongst the many divisions within the Jewish community of Israel, one is what to do about the hostages, what takes precedence. Should we accept a ceasefire so that they can be released? Or is it more important to first defeat Hamas for the greater good? This is not the first time the Israelis have had to confront this issue. It became a major issue in 2006 when Gilad Shalit was taken hostage. He was held hostage for 5 years, more than 1,900 days and nights. And there was a constant back and forth of what Israel should do. How many Palestinian terrorists should be released in order to gain freedom for Gilad Shalit? And the divisions then are no different than divisions now. I look back and read through a sermon I delivered at the time of Gilad Shalit's 1,000th year being held hostage. And I wrote, leading up to the 1,000th day anniversary, Gilad Shalit's parents camped outside the prime minister's office, joined by many others calling for the prime minister to do whatever was necessary to gain the release of Gilad Shalit. But encamped across the street from them was another group, and this group was made up of families who lost loved ones through the barbarity of the terrorists who are now to be released. From their perspective, releasing these terrorists would only encourage more terrorism in the future. So who was right? Gilad Shalit's mother, or those who said the terrorists must first be defeated? That question is now being asked now in Israel. And Israel is split on who's right. And in some ways, every Israeli is split on who is right. I remember back in the time of Gilad Shalit, one of Israel's most respected editorialists, Yoel Marcus, wrote in Haaretz a column entitled, "Yes, at Any Price." And a few weeks later, he wrote a column entitled, "Not at Any Price." So who's right? This is a decision the prime minister has to make, and I would never want to have his job, because you and I know both sides are right. And two rights don't make a wrong. This is an important lesson for us to keep in mind as we prepare for the Pesach Seder. The Seder is a time when family is together. The Seder is a time for family discussions, and sometimes those discussions turn ugly. I remember once seeing an interview that Conan O'Brien was having with Ellen Barkin, and she described a Pesach Seder in her family where such a fight broke out that her father threw the brisket at her mother. That's some memory, I'm sure, never to be forgotten. So when a discussion comes up at your Pesach Seder and there's disagreement, remember, you may not be the only person that's right. It depends upon one's perspective. And this is a lesson that's very hard for some people to remember. And so to remind you at the Seder, right before we eat the meal, we have korech, where we put the maror between two pieces of matzah, make it into a sandwich and eat it. Why do we do this? We had just eaten a piece of matzah. We had just eaten a piece of maror. So why the need for this sandwich? It goes back to a dispute in the Talmud. In the Torah, we are told regarding the Paschal sacrifice that it had to be al matzos umerorim yochluhu. It had to be eaten with matzah and maror. Now, according to some rabbis, this meant that the matzah and maror had to be eaten separately. Other rabbis said, doesn't make a difference. Hillel said, it means that they have to be eaten together. So what do? First, we eat them separately, and then we eat them together, reminding us that on some issues, you're right, and you're also right. So let's take this lesson to heart, and let's hope for the early release of the hostages, and let's have a Pesach Seder where not only will the food be good, but the discussions will be good as well. And we'll truly have a Pesach, which is a Chag kosher v'sameach, a Pesach holiday that is not only kosher, but joyous as well.